me. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, guys, to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thanks so much for joining us. And if you were joining us before, we had a live stream of Farpoint happening. Right now, as we do every week, we do have a discussion of what's happening this week in review. As always, I am not alone in talking about some of the stories that hit the web this week and that have hit the pulp culture, spectrum, or a lot of the stories that dropped. So let me bring on my fellow co-hosts. What's up, Jerome?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going, B?
Good. So, welcome back. Hopefully, it's been a good week. It's been a busy week to say the least. But with that being said, we definitely have some stories to hop right into. So we're going to hit the ground running. First and foremost, just like I was talking about last week, I guess I was talking it up. I was discussing the fact that we had not seen anything for Mortal Kombat, and lo and behold, we did get what we wanted, or say I did. I don't know about you, but I got what I wanted for Mortal Kombat. Not only did we have the, I guess we can say it was Wednesday that we had a lot of like the what is it, the motion posters that dropped for the film. And give me 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can pull that particular one, those particular photos up for you guys. You know what? Don't sweat it. But we did have some photos that did come up of each of the characters and many of their poses. And with that, it gave us a tease, I was going to say, of the trailer in and of itself that dropped on Thursday. So between the posters and the trailer, I have to say I am quite intrigued based on what I saw. Don't get me wrong, as I mentioned to you guys last week, when it comes to Mortal Kombat, it holds a special place in my heart because I remember playing, being introduced to the game when the first game first came out. Years ago when I was in elementary school, and playing this crazy game at this arcade, and people going wild over all these like crazy moves and finishing moves that you could do, and it was hyper realistic. It was pretty pretty unique. And then a couple of years down the line to actually be able to have that experience in a big screen, and hearing that theme song, right at the top, as I was mentioning before. But with this film, having something that is slightly closer to what I would expect from the game in terms of the amount of like brutality. So with that being said, while I'm putting up the finding those character posters, Jerome, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was impressed. I was like, this is the Mortal Kombat movie I wanted to see when the first one originally came out. Yeah, I mean, I almost felt like they showed too much, because I'm like, but there's probably more stuff they're not showing us. Yeah, I mean, they were showing already some of the fatality moves, the finishing moves. I like how it seems more serious, with the whole tournament and the history behind it, and was it and the supernatural element. So it seems like they're managing everything. They're mixing everything together really well. I mean, like I said, we still got to watch the movie. I mean, there's a lot of movies that have great trailers, and then it doesn't always mean the movie's great. But I have high hopes. I will say, like, they did. It's not the biggest critique I have, but I guess it is. I guess it's sort of an improvement. They did slightly change the like Sub-Zero and Scorpion's outfit, but I guess they're adapting it to make it more, seem more like ancient or realistic in this world. And they also want to stand out compared to the last one. So I mean, I don't really have a problem with that, but I did notice it was like, oh, it's slightly, they slightly change it, but I mean, it's an adventure. It's gonna be an adventure movie, martial arts movie / supernatural. I mean, they're mixing all these genres, so it works. But yeah, I'm definitely excited. Just like I said, I hope there's still stuff in the movie that they didn't show in the trailer though. So
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, while you're saying that, I was able to pull up because they revealed it on their Twitter page. So I'll pull it up on there just for us to get a quick look at it. Now, as I said, they gave us a couple of pretty awesome what is it, motion posters, I guess you can say. So let me bring it down. Here we go. So yeah, so we have a look at, and I'll pull it up here. We have a look at Sub-Zero, which is pretty awesome. Let me make sure that we have it visible there. 1 second, hold on. There we go. Okay, so yeah, we have a look at Sub-Zero in this picture. They gave us a look of, as you said, of a couple of other characters as well. And let me bring them up. So they showed Sub-Zero, they showed us Kano. What are your thoughts on Kano? Because like when it comes to Kano, as long as he has like the feel of what I'm expecting from the character, I'm fine. But I know a lot of people have commented on the fact that it's not like the entire gold plate. But my thought on it is this: is that you have to have a somewhere to go when you're thinking of the initial film. So if you're thinking of the initial film in that way, perhaps something happens where he's getting the entire gold plated eye versus them starting off that way. It gives a story element that for them to get to. I don't know what your thoughts on it are though.
yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with it. Like stuff like that. I don't have an issue with. Like I said, I had more of an issue with. I mean, it's not completely like it was more the other outfits, but like I said, it's still for the tone that they're setting, it works though. Look, everything seems like it's it's more serious. It's not, they're not trying to be funny.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, and it's go ahead.
The last one was serious, but they had like it was PG-13, and they were obviously trying to be make fun of what they're doing too, kind of So it's more, that was more of a funnier tone. I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be comedy in this too, but this one seems like they're being very serious with the tone, and it's just it's like this ancient. It's it's almost like they're making it a period piece and mixing with contemporary times, but also, I mean, with the supernatural element, making that more believable and tying all this stuff together. My thing is, I'm wondering how many of the characters. It seems like they're bringing so many of the characters in just this movie, and I guess they have to think like, hey, maybe this might be the only one. Who knows? we don't know.
I mean, yeah, definitely, because I didn't expect to see, and we can, I'll tell you what, I will bring up the trailer for us to watch. I know we both seen it, but I do have some thoughts on it. I mean, in case in point, in what you were saying, as long as they have the feel or the spirit of who the characters are, I'm not going to nitpick over. I'm not the type of person that would nitpick over every single thing, because I understand in terms of the medium that you're using the IP in. It's not, sometimes things don't really translate well to games to film, or even books to film, perhaps in how a character is described. Maybe there's just an actor that captures that spirit of that character more so than someone who looks character accurate. Because I know a lot of people are commenting, case in point right here with Melina, with how I guess just the general idea, not to really go into a whole bunch of specifics, but she doesn't look vicious enough in terms of like how big her teeth are. I guess they're picturing something more along the lines of what we would have with say like Venom or something, where like it's super exaggerated. But in the same regard, there are a couple of things at play. Perhaps there's a story element that gets us to that part where she becomes more feral. So, like, at the same time, even if say if that doesn't happen, as long as she's, you know, the vicious, sultry character that I expect out of someone who is portraying Melina, excuse me, then, you know, I'm cool. So like as I said, they had a few more character posters, and just like you just mentioning, there quite a few characters in here. I love that that we are getting kind of this embarrassment of characters from the game, but at the same time, there is a danger of there being just kind of similar to what you are implying. There's a danger, I feel, of us getting too caught up in just the fan service of having all these characters versus having an effective story. And mind you, I understand, guys. I understand that it's Mortal Kombat. It's not going to be an Oscar-worthy film, but at the same time, you want to have, you know, an adequate, you know, a film that has a adequate enough a story. Like the first Mortal Kombat, I enjoyed a great deal. It had, it has a basic premise, but at the same time, in terms of how they executed it, I enjoyed how it was, you know, executed it and to make sure that they were a telling an interesting story while still peppering it with various lore from the game. So only time will tell. But as I said, I want to hop into this trailer just for a quick moment. So I'll unshare that, and I will get into the trailer that I already have on tap. Let's see. And like I said, Jerome, I know you've seen this already, but I have some thoughts on it. So, with that being said, let me skip forward to a certain parts of the trailer. So I know a lot of people are having issues with what we have with Jax. I know folks are taking issue with how he loses his arms, but again, you know, based on the idea that I was discussing before of uh, having that just the spirit of the game, whether he loses it from Sub-Zero, whether he loses it from I believe in the game it was Ermac. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm, you know, wrong about that from what I remember from the games. Or say if they had it, you know, had a different character do it, if they had Goro or Kataro do it, as long as it, you know, stays within the spirit of him still being able to get those, you know, mechanical or those bionic arms, I'm fine one way or another. And then I was gonna say, to fast forward, one issue that I guess I'll say that I have is, I guess, the introduction of like this new character. I don't know if you're aware of like the basic premise, Jerome, but have you read up on it slightly? If not, I'll let you know.
On what, like the basic premise of the whole movie, or the?
Yeah. So like the setup that they have in store, like for the basic premise of the movie.
I mean, it sounds. I don't know. I haven't read about the new one, but it sounds like. I mean, it sounds like it's pretty similar to sort of. I mean, it looks like they're taking it from the video game and everything, but I mean, I don't know. I almost don't want to know all the details because I want to just watch it and see how it is. But
Yeah, I guess, okay. Well, I'll say this without getting into like the nitty gritty is if I'm in thinking about the what they are doing with the characters, is giving me deja vu of, you know, Resident Evil, in that they have a character right here, featured here in this picture, Cole, who is not a part of the games, but in the same way that they have with Alice from Resident Evil, they use him as a vessel or as a conduit to introduce the audience to the world of Mortal Kombat. And so, I mean, I get that and I understand that need to do that. However, I feel that by doing that, it can it can potentially alienate people away from the world of Mortal Kombat, in that I feel it would have been more seamless had they selected actual character from the game and still carried out the same storyline. I just feel that it's like an unnecessary thing to say, okay, we need to have a quote unquote, regular guy who is, seeing all of these things for the first time as the audience is. There are plenty of characters that I feel that are grounded enough that are a part of Mortal Kombat lore that you could have had as your lead and had it and executed it the same way of doing that quote unquote that fish out of water type of story.
Is that what I mean? Is confirmed that he's definitely. I mean, do we know? I mean, did they show? I mean, where's Johnny Cage? That's what.
Yeah, exactly. So
to me, when you said it looks like I was like, this guy's probably Johnny Cage. I don't know. Who know? I have no. I don't know. I guess I just want to see the movie, see how it plays out. But I mean, is that confirmed? I mean, do you know that, or based on?
So here's the thing. Like, based on the trailer, they kind of implied that he has ties to another character in Mortal Kombat lore. So, like, just to give you an idea, in that initial introduction that they have with just the drops of the company. So when they do, where you see here with Warner Brothers and New Line, they give you themes of fire and ice, which is what we have with obviously with Scorpion and Sub-Zero. So that tells me that that robbery is going to play a huge role, at least what I'm theorizing. It's going to play a huge role in the backdrop of this film, even though you have all these ancillary characters that people recognize from Mortal Kombat. I feel that this is going to play like a central that robbery is going to play a central role in the story. And my theory is, as I said, that this character Cole has some ties to one of those two characters. Do you want me to tell you which one on who I theorize? If not, I will leave it alone. It's in the trailer. I'll let you see it yourself for those of you out there. But just put it this way: every single time his character is shown on the screen, they show a connection with one of those characters. That was all I'll say.
Okay.
So my guess is maybe he's connected to that somehow, and that's how he's quote unquote a part of Mortal Kombat, even though he's not a like legit character. No, he's not Noob Sabat, because we have Noob Sabat in the movie. That's all I'll say, based on Mortal Kombat lore.
It's cool. That's cool to like try and go, but I don't know. I like to not know about all the details before I see.
I got you, but I will say this: Noob Sabat is in there already, so we don't need anybody else to play Noob Sabat.
You have Rain, Smoke. I mean, there's so many, and I didn't see Jade or nothing, but maybe I just feel like I'm assuming a lot of these people are just going to be cameos. That's fine if they have cameos, but I mean, it looks like they have so many characters. And then in that original trailer, didn't they have like another trailer or something before? There's some images. It looked like that Cyrax or something in there. I don't know.
So I mean, there's some characters that I did see in there. I did see Reptile in there. There are some characters that I saw in there. Goro was in there. Reptile was in there. So.
Well, who'd you say? Well, besides Reptile, you said who'd you say before that?
I saw Goro in there, obviously, for a moment, but I saw Reptile in there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean,
I was in there for sure.
I bet you they're gonna be like, some of them just gonna be like henchmen or just cameos or something, because there's no way. I mean, you're gonna be able to focus on it. But it's cool. I mean, I'm excited about it. And I saw you had Kung Lao and all these people. But
all right. So switching gears, guys. So as I said, we had Mortal Kombat. Finally after all this time, have a look at it. I mean, it's what, a couple of months out. It comes out April 16th. So let me just put that up. I believe so. Let me just double check that. I believe it says, it's April 16th, 2021. So that's a couple of months from now. So I am anticipating having a chance to take a look at that film. And thankfully, because of that dual release schedule that Warner Brothers is doing, it's a part of those 2021 releases. So you can either see it in theaters or you can see it in the comfort of your home on HBO Max. All right. So next story that I want to hop into. Apparently, we have a iconic director that may potentially hop into the world of the MCU. So via a story that we had that was done with a Hollywood Reporter, I believe so, not Hollywood Reporter, I apologize, but Entertainment Weekly, I should say. It appears that when asked if he would potentially do a superhero film, Spike Lee, seen here, stated that he would be willing to do a Marvel film, but the manner in which he stated that he would do it was rather interesting. So while I pull up that story, Jerome, what are your thoughts on director Spike Lee being courted to be in the MCU and potentially doing a upcoming film?
I remember before, I guess it didn't come through. He was supposed to be doing Night Watch, yeah, and then I don't know, maybe that didn't go through, or that was just rumors. But no, I mean, I think it would be good because I mean, he would definitely give a different perspective. He has his own style, and that's what makes Marvel so interesting and makes them take so many risks. Like they have different, filmmakers with different styles. They apply that to their films. Obviously, there's a limit to what can be within each of these stories because they still have to fit a certain mold and a certain tone. But I think each director, if they're okay with that partnership, they're able to still, put their unique stamp on it. I mean, we've seen that with the Russo brothers with Captain America: Winter Soldier. Taika Waititi with Thor Ragnarok, and Ryan Coogler with Black Panther, and then obviously, or James Gunn, he does his own thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. So I mean, it can be done. I just feel like he's gonna have to definitely. To me, it sounds like he would only be interested in. I mean, it would make more. I mean, who knows? But it'd probably make more sense if there's some, maybe there's some sort of social or racial component within the character, because that's part of Spike's style. But it'd be interesting to see him explore that. So yeah, I don't know. What I think would be good is if he picks a character who isn't as well known, maybe.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up, that idea of like socially conscious and things of that nature, because I do have someone in mind that I feel that he could tackle, and it's one of my favorite characters, and it hasn't been done yet. But before I get to that, I will hop into the shared article. So as I said, in this article from Entertainment Weekly, he's basically asked. So let me hop into it, and I will X out of here. Okay, so he basically says, when he's asked, "You've done biopics, romance, heist films. Will we ever see Spike Lee direct a superhero film? Some of your directing brethren, have dismissed Marvel movies as not legitimate filmmaking." And in them saying that, I have a picture of who they are doing a little mini jab at regarding that comment. But here's his comment, and he's very very candid about it. Are you trying to get the Marvel and DC stands at each other's throats? And he says, "I'm just saying, I was all about Marvel. If the right opportunity comes across, and I'm not campaigning for it, but I will give it consideration." Because here's the thing that was funny. Just before that, he threw a little shade at DC,
A little,
which surprised me. Yeah, he's like, when he was asked the initial question, he says, "I have nothing against Marvel. I grew up reading Spider-Man comic books. To me, DC Comics was always corny." And I was like, wow, those are fighting words right there. Like, if you're trying to have like both of these houses court you, or reach out to you about potentially doing, a project of theirs, I mean, you already put your put your line in the sand that, DC, I'm good, but Marvel, you could give me a call. I'm really the fact that he wasn't like very PC about it, and he like threw a little shade and specifically pointed out which one he would prefer, I found was interesting. But back to your comment about a film that he could potentially do, I feel that he would be an awesome fit for Blue Marble. He would be an awesome fit for Blue Marble. With all the other films that he has done in the past that are period pieces and deal with activism and social change and all of those things elements would be necessary in a Blue Marble film. So for any of you that are out there listening, anyone out there in the universe, if Marvel Studios, if you're listening, if you manage to get Spike Lee to direct a film, please have him do. Please have him do Blue Marble. I think that would be an awesome fit for him to do. I don't know what your thoughts on it are. Maybe there's another character you have in mind, but
I'd say Spike Lee or Jordan Peele would be good too. I think, but what's it called? Yeah, I think, and it's funny, but I think he could, because he's really proven that he could do like a really entertaining movie that has a style, especially with Inside Man. That's why to me that's my favorite Spike Lee movie at all, because I think that's the best example where he's shown like, yo, you make a really good heist movie, really smart film. I mean, he didn't write it though, but if anyone else directed that movie besides him, it would not have had all those little those gems and those little scenes where he's showing the, hey, look at this from another perspective. This is also there's more to it. There's more depth to that. Like, I think he could definitely do that with Blue Marvel. But the thing is, you got to remember, like, I mean, I call him Professor Spike because, like, he still teaches at NYU. I wasn't in the grad program; I was an undergrad, but he's all about making his own type of movie. Like, that's his thing. Like, to me, based on those comments, like I said, I don't know exactly what he meant by that, but it sounds like this is just like, if they come to him and it makes sense, he's down. But he's all about, like, Spike Lee's one of those filmmakers who makes Spike Lee specific types of films. Like, it's really like his type of movie, so it has to make sense to him. He's not gonna, I don't think he's just gonna be like, oh yeah, I just need to make a superhero movie or whatever. Like, it has to make sense. Otherwise, he's like, that's why I think he doesn't care about saying whatever he said against I don't think he's really actively courting them like other directors probably would, because he's already established. He is the brand, Spike Lee. It's not, if you notice, a lot of the other directors that direct a lot of these Marvel movies, at least from Marvel, DC a little bit, not as much, but not as much, but sort of. They get a lot of these filmmakers when they're just starting off and they're not really established. Some of them
in some cases, not in all cases though.
But most of them really. Russo brothers weren't really known. They pretty much made their career. Taika Waititi, he did stuff, but no one, he wasn't that. Ryan Coogler was known, but he still was on his way. That really solidified Ryan Coogler. I mean, compared to those other, I mean, he took stepping stones. You look at James Gunn, people knew James Gunn, but he wasn't.
But I mean, there were some instances where I agree with you that, they do have a track record of getting those filmmakers that are up and comers. However, they have been known to really reach out to some established filmmakers, and some of them have rung the bell and taken the offer. So, but still, with what you were saying, I feel it. As I said, there is a great opportunity with that character specifically in terms of all the stuff that you can mine in terms of like racism and bigotry and all that stuff. So, like, I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of meat on that bone, so to speak, in terms of what you can mine in terms of characters and what you want to say in a film while still having an entertaining film. There's a lot that you can mine from that. But with that being said, we're going to still stay into the superhero realm, so to speak. As there is another story that's also within the MCU. Mind you, while the former that we just discussed is still something that's a possibility, it looks like this is a definite go. And that's basically the story that composer Danny Elfman Seen Here will be providing the music for the new Strange film. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So with that said, before I get into my thoughts on it, I will punt the ball over to you, Jerome. You know, what are your thoughts on? And let me bring him back. I'm sorry. What are your thoughts on this iconic composer bringing his talents to the Doctor Strange sequel?
I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, he's worked with Sam Raimi on several movies before, so that, I mean, this usually happens. Like if you're a if you get hired as a director on some of these movies, I mean, you could put in the word, be like, hey, I work with this composer, whatever, and like that has a lot of, you know, that has a lot of weight. I mean, you look at Ryan Coogler, he pretty much only works with Ludwig, and you know, he recommends, hey, I want Ludwig to do this. So I mean, Danny Elfman, he's one of the best who's ever done it. I mean, he did the original.
I was gonna say, based on his body of work, you know, what are your thoughts in that regard?
No, I mean, hey, Sam Raimi is a, you know, look. Original, I thought the original Doctor Strange was great with Scott Derrickson. I think he did a great job. I mean, for whatever reason, I guess it didn't work out for the sequel. Who knows? I don't know the specifics, but whatever. But Sam Raimi, he's a good choice. He's got that quirky sensibility with his, you know, entertaining big movies. You know, to put it within like a big superhero movie or action movie. And like Danny Elfman, I mean, he's, you know, his score has been associated with some of the most quirkiest directors who've made big movies. I mean, with Tim Burton, he's done like pretty much all of Tim Burton's. I don't know if he did all of them, but he did a lot of them.
Yeah, he did many of them.
Yeah, and the same with Sam Raimi. I mean, like you don't get more weirder than like Tim Burton as a filmmaker. I mean, there probably are some, but he's like one of the most like quirkiest, weirdest, unique filmmakers. But that's part of his style that makes the movie so interesting and great. And the same with Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi has that sensibility too. So like, I mean, I think it'll work. I mean, and Doctor Strange is, you know, that's in his name. I mean, you're doing these mystical, dimensional, you know, storylines or whatever. This is a multiverse. I mean,
yeah. So it is multiverse related. So I guess just that idea that I'm interested, based as I was mentioning before, based on his body of work, because he has, as someone who loves music and scores of various films. You know, when it comes to scores, I'm a huge geek. When it comes to scores that we've had for, you know, iconic TV shows as well as movies, and Mr. Elfman has had a hand in many of those projects that I, you know and love. You know, whether it's Batman, I believe he did The Simpsons. If you correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was The Simpsons. He also did he did the Raimi Spider-Man. So yeah, like he's just that's just naming a couple of them. He did Nightmare Before Christmas, so like that's just naming a couple of the projects that he's done. So I'm extremely excited about that and what that may entail and what may come of that. So with that being said, with all the stories that we have, there are a couple of more that I want to get into, but since we're kind of going along the quote unquote Marvel train, I will do one final one before we get to our next one, since we're kind of in that wheelhouse right now. And that's just the story that happened or occurred yesterday. For many of you that were perhaps trying to watch a small little show on Disney Plus, perhaps you were having some issues watching it yesterday, and that's the idea that WandaVision broke Disney Plus yesterday. Even if it wasn't for a particularly long period of time, it was, you know, noticeable enough that it created a stir yesterday. So let me pull up the story. So there was via the Hollywood Reporter, and I'll read the story. It was an outage apparently that happened where some users were experiencing technical problems shortly after midnight Pacific time. So for those of you that are not aware, at least for us on the East Coast, we normally get our new episodes via Disney Plus for these shows, particularly with WandaVision at 3 a.m. And because obviously of the time difference, it is 12. Normally happens 12 a.m. on the West Coast. So let me see if I can share that. But while I pull that up, did you have to deal with this outage, Jerome, yesterday, or had you already watched your episode?
When you told me about this, I was shocked. I was like, okay, no, I didn't have an issue when I saw the episode. So I mean, I guess I missed out, but I'm glad I did. No, it's not surprising though. I mean, this is Disney's putting out a lot of content that people want to see, so you're going to get a lot of people watching it. But what's surprising is that they didn't anticipate this, or their system wasn't strong enough to handle this. So I mean, they're learning. I mean, this is what happens.
Yeah. All right. So here's a story. I'll pull it up now. So basically, via the story, and I will highlight it for you guys. As I said, there was a shortage that happened yesterday. Disney experienced technical problems for some users in the early hours of Friday morning as people rushed to view the latest episode of Marvel's WandaVision. So there were outage tracking website for Down Detector reported a huge spike in user submitted problems with Disney Plus, rising from 0 reported problems to over 8,000 just after midnight when the new episode dropped. So I myself, I didn't deal with this when it happened, but funnily enough, I did encounter it later on in the day because there was a spike that happened like in the afternoon, in which there were some people. There were some instances where people were getting kicked out. I got kicked out of Disney Plus. So I experienced it temporarily. So maybe there was like a second rush that happened later on in the afternoon, where there were a whole bunch of folks that were watching WandaVision apparently, and so a lot of people got kicked out and weren't able to log back in. So hopefully, based on this experience, as you said, it becomes like a learning experience for Disney where, perhaps there's something that they can do to ensure that, it doesn't happen with a future episode. Because I have a feeling that based on what happened this week, there's going to be even a higher anticipation of those upcoming episodes. I don't know what your thoughts on it are.
I will say though, out of all the apps that I've had for streaming services, Disney Plus is like, I've never had an issue with Disney Plus. When I've had like issue with Netflix, they're like, you have some error, or Hulu or whatever, I'm like, what's going on? I was like, maybe it's my internet, maybe it's not. Then I go to Disney Plus and it works. So they've been pretty good to me. So but this was kind of surprising. But yeah, I mean, they're gonna really have to improve their the infrastructure or however their system, the bandwidth they have or whatever the term is. To make sure they minimize this, and I'm sure they will. I mean, they have the money, they have the resources. It's just funny to see this because, I mean, this is where we're at right now. Like, I mean, everyone's at home and they're watching, content. They're watching movies, they're watching TV shows, and they're watching. There's a high chance they're watching it from one of these big streaming networks, streaming companies. So, yeah, Disney Plus, they're just since they've kept improving their numbers and adding more subscribers. This is definitely something that's on the radar. They're going to have to address, and I'm sure they'll do it.
For sure. So with that being said, as I said, I just wanted to kind of knock out some of the MCU related stories, but I know that there were a couple of more that that dropped that were some last minute things that we wanted to also touch on. So I'll pull up the story about Regina King, but do you want to take the lead on it?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I thought this was interesting. It just shows how Regina King, like, she's really definitely making big moves. She's going to produce and star as Shirley Chisolm in a biopic directed by John Ridley, who John Ridley, he won the Oscar for 12 Years a Slave, and he's been doing a lot of big things. So Yeah, I thought this is interesting, especially at this time, because she's, you know, Shirley Chisolm. She was America's first Black congresswoman, um, and she was the first female African American to run for president. So it's gonna show all of that, and like it's so relevant right now, and it's like that's definitely gonna be a really big. I think it's gonna be a big role and a really interesting story, and I'm excited to see it. And
And let me pull it up for a second, really quick, so that way while you're still talking about it, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I mean, I just think it's good that they're telling these stories now. I mean, obviously, we finally have the first female and African American vice president. We already had the first African American president, so it is obviously it's really relevant right now. I mean, just in general, it would have been relevant, but now it's like seems like the timing's even better. And because you also have more females running for president or running for office, it's becoming more, especially of women of color. So, and I think it's great that she's involved because I mean she's a great actress. She's she already won the Academy Award for supporting actress. She's who knows, she'll probably get nominated for One Night in Miami for directing, and then this might be like I'm sure it's gonna. I'm sure there's a high probability this movie should be good. I mean, like I said, we haven't seen it yet; it hasn't been made yet, but there's a good chance based on the people involved that it should be a good movie, and that she'll probably get nominated for this in the future for Best Actress. And it's like I just think it's really cool seeing someone who's been in the game for a while. I mean, I remember her acting in Boys in the Hood, and it's like, and then she was in certain films here and there, and I'm just like, wow. And then I knew she was a good actress, but I was like, I never like really saw her in something where I was like, besides that movie at first, where I was like, oh wow, she's like the lead and really, in a movie that looks like it's not just like your standard entertaining genre film or whatever, or there isn't much to it, but she's definitely making the moves to be in really good projects, and that's helped her rise even more and get the accolades that she deserves. And then her rise as a filmmaker too is pretty cool. So it's like you see how it's all like helping. It's kind of like helping her out as an actress also, so she's getting those better roles, and she, so. I just think it's really cool, like seeing that, because there's a lot of people in this industry who've been in the game for a while, and then like they don't always have the best opportunities, especially minorities. Like, if you might get typecast in the same type of role over and over again, and then it's just you're not getting those opportunities. So then you got to create those opportunities for yourself, and then as that happens, it seems like then maybe now people look at you differently. So I feel like that's another thing. The industry's probably obviously looking at her differently now. Winning the Academy Award helps, and now with these projects, so it's cool that this is happening, and I think it's an important story.
I was gonna say for sure, and case in point to what you were saying, it's always great to see, whether they are actors, directors, writers, what have you, whatever way that you come into the game and you bring your talents. It's always great to see them recognized and to get their due. Regina has been at it, just as you said, she's been in so many things, and she is consistently awesome in just about everything that she's in. So it's unfortunate that it's just now happening that people are recognizing her talent, but at the same time, I'm glad that she is now getting her due that I feel was long overdue. So with that in mind, I know we had additional stories. So outside of Miss King, we also have one with Miss DuVernay. So go ahead, I'll let you drop that while I put up the story.
Well, this story kind of dovetails off of what we were talking about a little bit, how people are actually in the industry in Hollywood are creating opportunities, and I thought this was interesting, especially for all you filmmakers and just crew members trying to get more opportunities. She has her own production company, Array, but she has a specific thing called Array Crew, which is basically it's like it's pretty much a way to connect crew members to filmmakers and producers who are looking for those crew members, and maybe they wouldn't look at maybe they didn't know about that were out there. And these are focusing on specifically like minorities, and females, and just except people might get overlooked because they're not in that circle, of crew members that are in a lot of these films. So I thought that was pretty cool how she's doing that. I mean, the requirement I saw in here was basically just they had to just be have one credit under their belt. So, it's not like she's doing the work for them. She's just at least putting it out there. So it's like, hey, if you need to find, if you're trying to hire people of color to be on your film set, and you're saying that you want to do that, she's doing her part, saying, hey, all right, these are the people, now do it. And I was like, I take my hat off to her because not everyone's doing this. I know Michael B. Jordan had that inclusion rider on his production of Just Mercies, and other people are doing that too. So that was good. Big up to him too. But Ava DuVernay, she's really putting her money where her mouth is. Like, she's not playing around, and I respect that. I think
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. On Queen Sugar specifically, I was reading about how, like, on that series that she produces, like, to my knowledge, I mean, all the directors on that show are women. Like, she did that specifically to be like, I want to give these female directors a chance to direct more projects because they weren't getting all the work that they were getting. And I'm like, I think that's amazing. I mean, you can do that when you have a deal or you have a certain, weight in this industry. People giving you opportunities, and then that's the way to always give back. And I always respect people who give back, and they're not just saying they want to help out or, oh, we need diversity, we need this. No, they're actually doing it.
Yeah. And I mean, case in point, it says I have to create and be part of the change that I want to see. And so after I go through the period of being on every panel and being in every article about diversity, just as you said, of kind of preaching it, but actually being about it. I stopped doing that a couple of years ago, and I said, no more panels. We're just going to build something that people can no longer say, I don't know how. So, good on her that, she's, just as you said, that she is acting on it and not just, talking on it as sometimes we see whenever it comes to, using your platform to bring about, change or improvement. A lot of times we have a lot of figures that, just speak on it, but they don't actually execute it. So, good on her that she is actually, just like you said, putting her money where her mouth is. So that is awesome. All right. Let's see. We have one more story. Time for one more story that we can put in. And apparently, it is a story with Will Smith and Jada Pinkett-Smith, regarding a Nigerian studio for film. I know this was also your story, Jerome. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, I just thought this was interesting to look at. I mean, where there are more opportunities coming and like where people are investing in entertainment, and like the other places you don't always see where stories are coming out of. And I thought it was really interesting that like Will Smith's company is teaming up with Ebony Life Studios, one of Nigeria's leading content companies, on a slate of co-produced film and TV projects, each connected to the African continent. So it's like,
yeah,
I think that's pretty cool because it's like there is a film industry in Africa. They call it Nollywood. It's like Nigeria is like at the forefront of that. But a lot of those stories and everything, they're more popular in Africa, and that's cool, and they're doing well. But it's like you don't really see as much of a diverse amount of stories based in Africa or with African talent, mainstream audiences see, except for like you might see stuff where you almost always see the same type of story, like, oh, it's really poor out there and people are dying, and it's some like political thing, and it's like that's a part of it. Yes, that's definitely a facet, but I mean this deal right here, I mean they're talking about like a comedy. They said there's one project called Are We Getting Married, a comedy set in the U.S. telling the story of a daughter of a wealthy Nigerian family fall in love with a nerdy African-American guy in Atlanta. Like, that's different. Like, that's something different. Yeah, they have a dramedy series. So it's just that they're investing in content there. Like, it seems like, I feel like that's going to be one of the next, places to look for talent or to collaborate with, because I know a lot of people keep talking about China. Of course, China is a big audience, but like that's not the only place people are going to be spending their money to watch movies. you got Africa, you have South Asia. I mean, there's Latin America. I mean, there's a lot of different places. So I just feel like there's going to be more opportunities here too. So, and it's good to Will Smith for having that foresight, because him and his wife, because not everybody's doing that, and he might be in some of those projects. So who knows?
For sure. So with that being said, we are going to cap it off right there. Want to thank you guys for hanging with us and talking about some of these stories that have crossed cross the table, so to speak, for the various entertainment stories, pop culture related events that have happened. Before I let you go, Jerome, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Yeah, so obviously, you can find me at Liam Productions on Twitter, Liam Productions 21 on Instagram. Obviously, we have Movers and Shakers Unlimited on YouTube and Instagram, and then on Twitter, we have Move and Shake UNLTD. Definitely check all those out. Subscribe, tweet, follow. Also Facebook, of course. Move and Shake. Movers and Shakers Unlimited. You can look us up there. But yeah, just check us out, subscribe to us, and we're gonna be back next Saturday too.
Yeah, we will be back next week. And again, just to hop off of that, if you enjoyed this video or you enjoy some of the content that we have, be sure to drop a comment, like and subscribe, so that way you can be notified whenever we drop any new content. Just as Jerome was saying, we will we have this week in review happening on a weekly basis on Saturdays. However, we do have a couple of shows that are ongoing as we speak now. So we still have American Gods that will be happening, the new episode tomorrow. But we do have some upcoming shows as well. As I mentioned in the Farpoint live stream, we do have Star Trek for the next season on the way, where we're doing breakdowns of every single episode, as well as Expanse. And then I can announce now, just to give you guys a heads up, there will be a breakdown show for Falcon and Winter Soldier. So you heard it here first. We will be doing a breakdown of that show once it airs. Be on the lookout of who we will have doing acting as a host for those shows. But other than that, I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movies and Shakers Unlimited. Jerome already dropped all of our socials, so you can find me personally at Brandon Troy ENT on Twitter and Brandon Troy _ENT on Instagram. Other than that, be safe out there, and I'll see you soon. Till next week.